All right, so let's have a discussion about reparations and why I think reparations are necessary to promote racial justice and racial equality and historical justice in the United States of America for Black Americans. So as you might can see, I'm a bit of a pro-Black guy, called pro-Blackity Black or whatever. I'm very open and honest about that. I'm not going to be, shortcoming about that, but I'm pro-American at the end of the day. But again, I think that my people are suffering some hardships, and I really, really want to see that fixed. If you are a part of a racial group, if you are a part of a group, or if you're part of any other, you don't have to necessarily be a part of that group. If you can see where someone's suffering something, you want to say something, and you want something to be done about it, especially if it's based on history. Now, with me being a part of that group, obviously it's gonna affect me more. I have a Black child. Of course, I'm gonna care about my people. You can't ask me not to, and if you ask me not to, I'm gonna treat you like you're stupid at that point, because that means that you have no empathy, and that means that you just don't have common sense. Now, with that being said, I just, first of all, reparations are absolutely deserved. Yes, when you enslave people for that long, when you look through the civil rights era, when you look at the redlining that's currently still going on, because again, that's why nobody wants to talk about redlining, right? Knows that no one wants to talk about redlining, because again, if we talk about redlining, there's something that's actually still going on. And people love to say, well, slavery was a long time ago. It was a long time ago. Well, civil rights era was not a long time ago. That was within a lot of people's lifetimes. And so based on that alone, we deserve reparations for what happened during the civil rights era. But again, people love to bounce through history and just disregard things and just play the short memory game. And it's very, very baffling to me. It's very, very weird to me how people will see my content, see how introspective, how smart I am, how I investigate things so well, and yet you think that for years I'm just not going to notice that. And if you want to know what redlining is, it's when you refuse a loan or insurance to someone because they live in an area deemed to be too poor or a financial risk. So that person lives in that area. You have to have a home address where you actually file for a loan or anything else. So how do you actually get a loan to get out of that situation, get a loan, get a home loan, get loans for anything else if they're going to redline you and not give you anything? And this is done with strategy. It's actually strategic. People do this intentionally. They've done this for years, for generations, to Black people, not just Black people, but various other races, but especially Black people. And there's been peer-reviewed studies on this. This is why it rarely ever comes up in right-wing circles, because again, it would kind of kill the idea that reparations are not deserved. Because there are still things that are going on to this very day that are pretty serious that people know about, that people have known about. Facts don't care about your feelings. Well, guess what? Redlining has peer-reviewed studies. To get a peer-reviewed study, that it's very, very difficult. Now, granted, you can spew all SJW nonsense all you want to. Oh, it's just SJW nonsense. That's the only reason why it got through. No, it got through because it's a fact. It's a fact. You don't get to just skirt past facts. You don't get to just ignore facts because of your feelings, your feelings. Because again, if we're talking about redlining isn't just private businesses. It's also the government, local governments, and also just the private sector in general, who either directly or through selective raising of prices or denial of services will keep a whole community down. And they've done that to Black people for generations now. It has been well documented. It's well known. It is so egregious that it happens still to this very day in the United States, but it happens very, very often. Now, granted, you can look at what's going on right now. You can say, well, redlining is being reversed in some areas. However, that doesn't fix the damage already being done. Now, just because, again, it's so bizarre how stupid some people are when it comes to this issue, right? They think that if you just simply give somebody something equal after you took something away, then you're good. No. What you do is you give somebody something up after you took something away from making them equal, right? Because that's how math equations work. If you give one side 2, you give one side 1, you're going to equal out 3 in your freaking society. You do not say, hey, all right, well, I'm going to give you 2 now. We also have 2, so we're good. No. You give me 3, then you get 2. Because originally you only gave me 1. That's how math works. That's how math works. You don't get to just skip past all the damage done. You fix the damage done. That is a principle that I live by. I live by the principle. Do no harm. And if you do harm, physical harm, actual material harm, do your best to fix it. And I've had Australian YouTubers, over 500,000 subscribers, show up to my freaking live chats when I was having a discussion about reparations. And they were, in my opinion, intellectually dishonest, but they would bring up silly points like, do I think that that when I brought up the point about Native Americans being awarded half of Oklahoma as part of my main body of my argument, and actually supporting Supreme Court justices when they were making statements about it. Like, for example, Neil Gorsuch, who was appointed, well, not appointed, but nominated by Donald Trump. Donald Trump wanted Neil Gorsuch on the bench, and he's the main guy who made that happen. And his dissenting opinion, it kind of shows that, yeah, when you've done harm to people, you gotta fix it. You gotta honor commitments. When I bring that up, this guy says, well, do you personally believe that you should have to pay Native Americans? I said, yes. You're asking a combat soldier. Do I think that we should fix the damage that we cause when we actually go and hurt people? Yes, we do it all the time. There's no way that you can be a combat soldier and never serve in combat if you don't believe that, because we literally bomb and rebuild countries all the goddamn time. You kind of know that kind of comes with the freaking territory. That's part of the reason why you have the engineer corps with the army. In case you do too much damage, you can temporarily fix it until you get some more permanent fixtures. But yeah, almost everything that we take over in country that isn't used immediately is just left there. And on top of that, whatever damage that we do pay them. We do fix it. Like, for example, we blew up some schools and we freaking rebuilt them. In fact, we have built, I dare say, in some areas in freaking Afghanistan, we have built more schools there than we did in my home state of South Carolina. I got to be honest with you. I spent more than 30 years in freaking South Carolina, and we built more schools there than we did anywhere else. So again, the idea that a combat soldier would say anything but, yeah, I kind of believe that, it's kind of crazy to me. But then that brings up the other problem. This Australian YouTuber, and I'm going to go ahead and say his freaking name, Baring. Baring, he then starts bringing up other countries. And that's the one thing that I notice about this discussion. Australia and America, sorry, they're nowhere near the same. And I tell people who push gun control from your country the exact same thing. I'm sorry, I'm not disrespecting Australians, but my thing is that you don't really have a place in a discussion about reparations for Black Americans. I mean, what do Australians have to do with that at all? At all. I mean, that's like freaking Chinese coming in and saying, well, I don't think you should get reparations. You're in China. Well, how does this even affect you? Why do you care? People like that, right? Anytime you bring up any kind of conversation like that, they're fishing for a video. They're trying to start a freaking fight. They want to brand everybody a freaking SJW. When the fact of the matter is, if you actually listen to what we factually say, oftentimes Baring and other people, you're wrong. You're not always right. And this is one situation where you just don't know much about it. Let's get back to people who are right here in the States. Now, people who are here in the States, they will bring up several things like, who's going to pay for it? It's going to be way too expensive. First of all, you understand how many Black Americans are actually in the country. I want to actually show you that. I want to actually, again, people always say that reparations are way too expensive. First of all, most Black people, if you were to come to them and say, we'll give you $1 million for reparations, they would freaking accept that. They would freaking accept that. So I want you to understand just how cheap reparations actually are. All right. So I want you to see this real quick. Because again, I don't want to lie to you or mislead you. I want you to see the freaking truth about it. As of 2019, there's only 42 million Black people in the entire United States of America. And all of a sudden you get people saying, well, I just don't see how money given to Black folks is going to solve anything. How would they spend it? They're just going to spend it on this. How about this? How about you mind your own business? I'll spend it on wherever I choose to spend it on. Mind your business. Don't worry about how I spend it. If you don't understand that this country has done wrong to somebody, let those people get compensated for that. Okay? Otherwise, I just don't want to hear it. I'm tired of hearing all these silly excuses. Here's another one that I hear very, very often, right? Here's another one that I hear so often, right? I hear so often. How much would it be to divide it against with other people? Is it fair to? Don't worry about that. Just pay it. Hell, we didn't spend billions on goddamn animals. We didn't spend billions on other countries. We didn't spend billions and billions and billions defending other countries. Hell, we drone strike people, and most Americans don't lose and they sleep over that. So don't you pretend like you suddenly care about how our money is spent. Stop it. Just stop it. I'm not going to buy that. I'm not going to listen to that. It's just going to go in one ear and out the other. No, American government, you know what you did. You know what you continue to do. And you understand what you did during the Civil Rights era. So based on that, pay Black people their money. You never have to hear about reparations again if you just do it right. Set a certain date to register by. Once that date is gone, that's it. That's the freaking cutoff. There's no discussion. There's no talking. I don't care if little freaking boo-boo was unborn on or before this date. Sorry. People say, well, how are you going to determine it? How do you know? How are you going to determine it? Well, the way that you would start, you would go down to South Carolina because 40% of your slave trade in terms of ports came to South Carolina. Most every person there in Charleston is probably a descendant of a freaking slave. Pretty sure that if their family was in America during the time of civil rights there, they weren't exactly treated very, very well, or like they were an equal citizen. Do you not think that people should be compensated for not being treated as an equal citizen? Yes or no? Or do you think that has any kind of residual effects? That maybe that has generational effects? That maybe that people pass down through generation for generations hatred of certain institutions like the police, the government, courts, everything else. Do you think that some of the changes that were brought from the civil rights era have actually been instilled in all parts of America? How do you know? The third most populated country in the world. Have you been to every single state? Because I traveled to 48 states in 6 months. And let me go ahead and tell you, if you travel to certain places in this country, it would seem like a completely different country. So are you completely sure that some places in this country aren't still segregated as hell right now? But back to the whole reparations thing and who should get it. The thing about it is that let's say, for example, that the Joker were to violate 6 women, right? Let's say the Joker were to be arrested. And let's say that he had to pay restitution to all 6 of these women. And let's say Joker says, well, there's no real way to know how many women that I've actually violated. I'm crazy. The judge is not going to say, well, since we don't know how many victims that there are, we're not going to order you to pay restitution. No, that's not how that works. Because again, reparations, in terms of, because again, if that's ever legislated on, you're going to have Republicans, mostly on the right, opposing it. There's going to be court cases. And again, a judge is going to look at it just like that. We cannot stop reparations from happening because we don't know exactly how many victims or who the victims are. All right. You will start with the known victims. People like myself who can actually trace their lineage. People like others who can directly trace their actual lineage. Again, that's how you do this. You don't then say, well, because we don't know who everybody is, we can't do it. No. That's not how it works. That's never been a legal precedent for legal restitution for any other issue. You understand that? So again, if you ever work corrections like I have, if you ever been inside of an American courtroom like I have, you understand that is never an excuse to not pay restitution, or in this case, reparations. Because once again, not every Japanese American that we held in internment camps did we actually pay. Not every one of them. So with that being said, we didn't pay every single last one of them. You are pretty sure some of them slipped through the goddamn cracks. We understand that, right? We understand that. So if we understand that, but we still pay them reparations, what's your excuse now? And we gave Native Americans half a state based on a treaty that honestly is hundreds of years old. My question is, based on those 2 precedents they're already set, what do you think is going to happen when the question of reparations hits the Supreme Court again? With Neil Gorsuch, the same guy who justified us giving half a state to Native people. You know what's going to happen. Reparations are going to happen at some point. I think that's one of the only ways to bring true racial harmony. This country has fucked over my people, and we're not going to just let that go. You can get as mad, you can stomp your feet, you can do all that shit, but the fact of the matter is, facts are facts. Not your fucking feelings of, well, suppose my grandfather, I don't give a shit about what happened to your damn grandfather in fucking Australia. I'm talking about black Americans, reparations here. That ain't got shit to do with me. You got a problem with damn Japan? I'm talking about Bering here. You got a problem with damn Japan? Go to damn Japan. But it's the principle of the argument. If I'm talking about black Americans, then the context should be black Americans. And before you speak on subjects, please do me a favor, do everybody a favor, and actually read up about it. Or if nothing else, if you're going to comment on a subject, keep it to the country, or at least the hemisphere, not the hemisphere, but at least the continent. Keep it at least within, like a continent. Because even continent to continent, cultures are different. Context is completely different. At least try that. I find that so many people are just intellectually dishonest. And they can't be honest about it because, once again, when it comes to reparations, there is no counter argument. With that being said, guys, make sure you hit the like button, hit the share button, make sure you share the content. With that being said, guys, until next time, wear a mask, be safe, horns up, peace out, good night, and good luck.